Simple website using one of the available templates. In this video, I'm going to show you a brief overview of the interface builder. To start with, in the top left hand corner, you can see this route selector. If I click it, you can see that all of the routes and the pages that are set up for this interface. We have a home page, an about us page, a contact us page, a privacy policy, and terms and conditions. You can see that in here I can create new routes by clicking the new route button. I can reorder them in my list. I can also organize them inside folders or create new folders. And I can expand all folders or collapse all folders quite easily just by clicking the buttons. If I need to switch to a different route, I can click that route and it'll take me to that page. This can be very handy to switch between different pages and change the content. To duplicate or delete a route, I can click the three dots ellipsis next to each of the pages, which will give me more options. Here it'll allow me to edit those pages, including the title and the route ID and the URL path, or I can delete or duplicate those pages. In the center of the top bar, you can also see that there's a few options. The first one will allow us to set the preview window to the size of a mobile phone, so we can see what the website looks like on a mobile. The second one allows us to view on a tablet, and the third one allows us to take up the full screen and emulate what a desktop would look like. The fourth option allows us to move the preview window into its own window, which allows us to resize and change it to any height. It also, if you're using a multiple monitor setup, you can drag it onto another monitor and give yourself a lot more room to code or adjust things in the site. If I click inside the preview, I can click and select each of the sections just as I normally would when the preview is docked. And if I close the window, you'll see it pop straight back in here, just as it was before. I can also turn off the preview if we don't want the JavaScript code to run by clicking the eye and unclicking it to bring it back. And I can change the emulation settings if I wanted to see what the website looked like with a different set of permissions or maybe a different application by adjusting the application or removing the application itself. There are also more advanced settings where you can emulate the time of day or the location of the viewer, but we'll get to those in a later video. I can also force a refresh of the preview by clicking the refresh button, and that will re-render the entire site. In the top right hand corner, I have the option to close and go back to my dashboard. I can save, or I can click publish, which will take me to the release manager. On the left hand side, I have a cog here, which will allow me to change the settings for this route that I'm currently on, or the interface as a whole. I can change the SEO details. I can also enable the header or footer for this particular route, change the SEO details for this particular route, and set up some sitemap information. I can also click this box here, which will show me the section market, which allows me to drag and insert content by dragging it onto the page where I want to see it. Underneath that is the menus option. Here's where I can manage the menus. On this template, there is a menu at the top up here, and there's a menu down the bottom. The top menu is the primary menu, and the bottom one is the footer menu. I can also create new menus and inject them anywhere in the site that I like as well. If I click each menu, I can adjust and reorder and change where the menu items are. I can also add new menu items. I can also delete menu items, duplicate menu items, add child items if I want drop downs and things like that. And I can also duplicate and delete menus themselves. Underneath that, we have our sections. Here you can see the sections are broken up into the header, the route, and the footer. On this page, I have a basic header up here, which is in the header area. Then I have a basic image, and then a few website sections with text inside the route itself. You'll notice that the footer and the header are the same on every page. If I change to the About Us page, these components are still there, whereas the routes components change here. This allows us to create a simple header that's consistent across all the pages of the screen. Underneath that, I have the paintbrush icon, which will allow me to update my CSS or Sass, and I can change the CSS that happens at the start before any of the components add their own CSS, as well as override any CSS on the site after in the post element CSS as well. We can also set up our variables. I could change this to red and change the color of the site to red, and you'll notice that it changes in real time. So if we need to change maybe the font or something, we can just change it here, and we'll just say serif, and you can see it changes across the whole site as we edit the code. We also have the Services tab, which allows us to create functional services or JavaScript objects using the Vue 3 library framework, where we can make it so that we can easily change things across the entire interface. We can also add extra functionality. It's helpful for making data collections or having singletons, where we can easily just change it to 2 or 3 things on the site without having to go to each page to change it. So you'll see there, as I change it here, this logo up here references the title of this basic details service, as well as if I click privacy policy, it also changes as I change in here. You'll see it change everywhere that I've referenced it. We also have the ability to create our own simple components which exist within the interface, and I can show you more about that in another video. But it allows you to create reusable snippets and functional components in the Vue framework that you can inject into anywhere on your site. And last but not least, in the bottom left-hand corner, we have the option to hide the outside interface, so we can get a bit more of a clear look at our interface.